And how did you come to the attention of L.B. Mayer?
Um, long story short, Hal Roach heard they were looking for a kid to appear in this Paramount movie called Skippy, which was about a cartoon strip character in those days, very popular. And uh, Roach got Paramount to test me, and I won the role in this movie Skippy. And before it was released, even at a preview, some word had gotten out evidently about this kid Cooper, and Mr. Mayer, which a lot of people didn't know, he went to some little town where they were having a preview around here, San Bernardino or someplace. He saw me in the thing, and he called up Roach, and before Skippy, because Roach only loaned me to Paramount just for that one film. Um, he bought my contract from Hal Roach, and it was a 7-year deal in those days with options. Every 6 months uh, they could drop you every 6 months.
And you told me how much you paid for that then?
Uh, Mayer paid Roach $100,000 for my contract there, because Roach had also a 7-year deal with me, and that was a lot of money in those days, a lot of money. And Mayer was, when he felt he had a star, he paid his stars. But by paying his stars, he expected this and this and this, and this is, you worked for Mr. Mayer, you didn't work for anybody else. And even if he loaned you out to someplace else, you were working for him. He would tell you what to do.
Exactly. Now, just clarify for me. Was it Hal Roach who got the 100,000? Because you said you got like 150 a week. So it was basically Hal Roach and Mayer who were going to make the money, not
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no. When I went to MGM, I was signed up for $900 the first year. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
He paid his stars.
So that was
And
big.
at Roach's studio, Roach's studio, an affair just about a year and a half before Mr. Roach died, fairly recently. He heard I was going to be at this luncheon honoring him, and several of us were to be there and make speeches about when we knew him as a kid and so forth. He brought a copy of the contract. My mother wasn't even in town at the time I was signed up. My grandmother had signed it. It was $40 a week for 26 weeks, and if he picked it up after 26 weeks, it was going to be $50 a week.
Amazing. Can you just tell me the story about um, the kind of person Mayer was in terms of when you said how he and your mother locked horns. Can you recount that story about going there when you were a kid with your mother?
Yes, very well. A lot of what I'm about to tell you, I learned later on, when it was more of a time to tell me, as a 16 or 17-year-old. But when I was first at MGM, Skippy had come out, was very successful. Mr. Mayer, as soon as he had me under contract, loaned me out to RKO Studios to appear in a Richard Dix film, which is what Mr. Mayer did a lot of, as much as he could in those days. As soon as he set somebody under contract, he would loan them out for much more than he was paying them and get a whole year's salary ahead on whoever that actor or actress was. So he loaned me out on that picture. That did very well. And they were going to make this picture with Wallace Beery, a fight picture, and they needed a kid to be in it and so forth. It was called The Champ. And that was very successful. And then all of a sudden, which Mr. Mayer did very often then, with some pictures, if you'd been in that made a lot of money, he could make a very inexpensive little film and put you in it, and it would still make a lot of money, and they would make even more profit. Well, this particular film my mother didn't think very much of, and she felt very bad about it. And of course the agent had said to my mother, well, you don't fool around with Mr. Mayer. He wants you in the picture, you're going to do it. She said, well, I'm going to have a talk with him. She had a talk with Mr. Mayer, and he said, you're going to do, Jackie's going to be in this film. I'm sorry. She said, well, I'm telling you, I don't want him in this picture. He doesn't deserve to be in this picture. And he said, well, what do you think I'm going to do about it? She says, I don't know. And he said, well, here's your contract, and I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll tear it up. And so my mother left and had a talk. She told me the details mainly years later with our agent, our lawyer, business manager, and my uncle, who was very influential, a director, film director then, had also directed Skippy. And it was decided that it would be best for her to go back and see Mr. Mayer and say she's sorry, and let's try and get things back the way they were. She agreed, and when they went to make the date, he said, bring the kid. So she brought me, and we went into his office, and they talked, and I wasn't, as I remember, very little about the meeting. I was walking around his office during most of it, and when it was time to go, well, come on, Jackie, we're going to go. It just seemed to me we were there forever, but the story she told me later was that she apologized, she's sorry, she's going to act like an employee and see that I am, and so on and so forth. And we're walking to the door, and she said, say goodbye to Mr. Mayer, and he opened the door, and I'm this high, I stuck my hand out, and I says, goodbye, Mr. Mayer, and he didn't shake my hand, he grabbed me by the blouse and pulled me to him like this and said, it's a good thing you came to work today, young man, and don't you ever forget it. And I got scared and started to cry, and he let go of me and said, get him out of here, get him out of here, and screaming, and that made me cry some more. That was the last personal kind of meeting that I had ever had with Mr. Mayer until a few years went by, and then it was always, hello, how are you, this and that, and whatever. We were in his office to take a picture, a publicity picture or something, that was all.